Hello, hello, testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, um, those things are working. Let me just check few things. Hello, hello. Cool. That's working as well. Okay. All right. So that's working as well. Let's go here. Let's go here. Copy. Pasta. YouTube will be this thing. Remove this. Just add me this. Cool. Copy, paste, live, remove, picture, add, post. Okay, so we are good to go. Hopefully here as well. Okay. Cool. This also works. All right. So we are good to go. Mm-hmm. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Yeah. So this is good. Okay. Cool. So what were we doing yesterday? We were trying to make the PHP application work, and we were trying to build a task manager. So that's what I'm going to build today, and we'll finish it, and then PHP game is over. I saw the vote. Turns out that people like, mm, let's see, there's a community. Where is it? Content, uh, post. What should I do next? So if I just go here, so basically this is the vote, 3 people. So I'll just do that starting from next video onwards. And of course, I'll be doing things that I like as well. But yeah, cool. A bunch of things. One, let's also try and deploy the things first. I think I've figured things out. It won't be perfect, but it will be better. So let's go with, yeah, let's go with PHP Storm. So we tried yesterday a bunch of things, none of those things worked for us. But what I'll do now is I'll create within this app application for now, just so that it works, Docker file. And within this, I'll do this far part first and foremost. So it will be 8.4.3 FPM Alpine. Yeah, okay. So hopefully this, I'll just copy this thing. This will be kind of like a speed run, so hopefully people understand that. So it will be run apk add no cache post grace sql dev. That's one. Then I'll run this part, which will also include pgsql. Then this is fine. Before that, I will have work dir, which will be this html. One thing I don't like here is if I go here inside the fonts, let's remove this completely, and that's fine. So there's that. Then this is fine. If you hear any background noise, sorry for that. This is too many dogs are outside, stray dogs. Then this is fine. Then what I'll do now is I'll remove this part, and this should be fine. Then composer install is fine. Then this will now become whatever it is inside this app folder. This, then I'll simply expose 9000, and finally for our sake we'll say cmd. It will be php comma s, then 0 0 0 0 9000 comma t, and this will be basically me saying where's the public folder. So that's the public folder, and that's about it. So let's go to render dashboard. There's nothing here, which is fine. So we'll do with the this part, and then we'll do that part. This will fail. So what I'll do before that is I'll open this, and here I'll say this. There are a bunch of files, which is fine, and we'll look into all of those later. Let's see. Trying to deploy to render. This goes to master. Now here I'll say connect this thing. It will pick up the master file, and my root directory is app. Once I have that, it goes away, right? We'll check this part. Here in the environment file, I'll have nothing for now. There's no docker command, docker. So check this part. Docker file path, it's right here, okay, in the root. Docker command, like optionally provide override your this file, nothing. Auto deploy, yes. Included path, no. Just deploy the server. Let's see whether it deploys at this point or not. If everything works fine, this will be our application where everything will be deployed. Okay, this is not a way how you do things, but for our purpose this should work. At least initially it should work. There has to be better ways like Vercel, but once I go back to Next.js, we are going to get out of this thing. So in short, what I did was very simple. I created a Docker file inside the app, and then I created this whole thing, defined this work directory, copy everything, like change certain things, expose the port, and I'm using PHP's internal server for it on this same port, and serving this as the root, which is where our index file is. Okay, so that's all I did. Now if everything runs fine, then this should deploy. So it's deploying. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, what I'll do is we can remove this thing. Here I can say Docker. I need to run the Docker desktop. Cool, now it's running. So let's check whether this works or not. It works, so I'll just say compose up dbuild. So for internal purpose, we are going to be using this, which is what we had, right? One caveat here is that here we are using MySQL, whereas here, okay, we will fail this. So it will be PDO-PG SQL. Sorry, so that will fail, even though it's live because we are not using anything. So let's go here, and there we go. So our PHP application is live, and this is exactly what we are going to see taskify.test. Okay, so at least this is working fine. Cool. We will change this also in this Docker compose. What I need to do is, let's also change this to Postgres, because there are certain changes between these two. So I'll say PG data. Here I'll say let's see, it should be post. All of these are data which you can actually get from Docker Hub. So if I remember, this is what it is. We'll figure it out. 5432. This I have to remove this thing. Sorry, this will be Postgres DB. Then it will be Postgres user and Postgres password. For us in local, this is enough. And finally, this is done. Oh yeah, sorry. It will be Postgres followed by 16.6. This should be in it. This one. Yeah, we are fine. Cool. Let's see. Few things we need to change in the JSON file. We have nothing, thankfully. So for now, we don't have to worry much. We can just say compose down. Okay. Then we can say compose up build. So it's now going to pull the new DB, which means this will not be running. So we have to simply, let's say, properties. This will be 5432. Everything else is fine. So now, yet, no, this is fine. Let's remove this thing. We need to delete this. We will have Postgres SQL. Here we will have Taskify. Then this is fine, and here I will say Taskify copy, like password as well. Let's download the missing driver files. Let's also open this once, see what container we are running. Okay, we are running everything fine. Cool. Let it install. Okay, while that is installing, let's go back to our Excel draw, and I'll tell you what, we will build some sort of like UI wireframe. So here's what I need. I need a page which will have a bunch of tasks listed like this. Okay, these will be the task. That's about it. So that's one page that I need. Here it will have you can say buttons. Of course these won't be the thing, but this will have up or down buttons. Okay, something like this. Let's make it like so. And these will be the task, and then nothing else. You guys can, everything will be public. Here there will be one heading which will be like this. There's an heading, no logo, nothing else. I don't see anything. Fine. There will be up and down icons. It will be the topic. So basically this will be, you know, like topic, and that's about it. So you guys can actually go and click up and down arrow, which will be me doing the polling. That's all. And then apart from this, what I will have, however, is admin form. Right, there will be two pages. So one will be here, let's say it will be a form for login. Registration will be done automatically because it will be an admin. And then there will be CRUD operation, CRUD, which will be task create, task edit, task delete, and task update. That's about it. It's as simple as that. There will be a bunch of things like only I can create things and things like that. Everything here will be public. So we are going to build only 3 pages, so to speak. Okay, let's test the connection. We are good to go. Let's apply, and here we are. So now this is what it is. Taskify, within that I have a public, which is where all the data actually table will come. Cool. So I will have a bunch of like tables. So let's start with that. There will be one table which will be users. So I'll start with this. Create table if not exist. Okay, and this table will be basically users. That will be just me, so nothing else. So it will be big serial, let's say. Yeah, let's go with I'm the only one who needs to exist, so int should be enough. Let's see. Postgres equal int teacher, numeric types. Here I can see this, these are the things, so we can go with this integer. So it will be integer. It will also be primary key. Then I'll have one public ID just in case. which will be of varchar 12. Don't require it, let's have it. If I don't require it, I'll not have it. I will have a name which will be, so varchar is not necessary, I'll just make it as text, because technically speaking in Postgres the speed doesn't reduce at all, so who cares. Username is not required. I'll go with my email, which will be of type text, also not null. And then there will be a password, which will be of type text, not null. Finally, greeted at, which will be timestamp without time zone, time zone, not null, default. Now, let's also have a time zone, who cares. And there will be a refresh token as well, because I'll show you the auth. Even though it's me, it should be there. Technically you have different table for it, but our app is so simple. It will be fun app, utility based, to be honest. And then I will have constraint on idx, email, and that should be unique. It will be email. That's about it. So now this is change the dialect, not the global. Project one is Postgres SQL. Okay. This is basically me saying public dot users. So I'm trying to create this table, and this will be like so. Cool. Now this is primary key is, make it like this, name, and we will have commas everywhere. So comma, 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 and that's about it. So that's one. Let's go and run this thing. So that ran. Within that, now I have table and I have this. If you check the column, these are the columns, and these are the keys, and these are the indexes. Fine, that's one. So what's next? So I'll just remove this part, comment it out. Next is our task. So what will our task contain? Okay, it's very simple. So now I'll write it in smaller letter, because that's also you can do. If not exist, it will be public. Let's say tasks, and like this. Am I even? Yeah, thankfully I am. Okay. Okay. So now we will create task that will be ID of that can be big serial. Let's go with this. Let's make it primary key. Let's call it big int. If I'm correct, Big serial 8 bytes, big int 8 bytes, auto incrementing. Yeah. So let's go with big serials. What is, wait, they are not auto incrementing or what? Oh, so what I'll need to do is here I'll modify the column. I'll make this, let's modify this to big serial, and that's about it. Cancel. Let's go and modify the column, make this as big serial. Okay, time big serial does not exist, position 64. Let's copy this, cancel. There's always some sort of like a blocker. Hmm. The best way to do this is ChatGPT. Give it this and give it that. You know what the best way is? I'll just remove this. I'll do this and I'll say something. Drop table if it exists. Drop table if exists, and that will be public users. And I'll just run this part first. So that's done. Now I'll run this part. Okay, I didn't change anything. So let's run this. This will be big serial. Now run this again. So now I have a table. Cool. Remove this thing, get it back. Now I have a big serial, which is going to be primary key. Then it will be, this will have public ID because it's going to be available to public. So it will be not null. Then it will be title, text, not null. Then let's also have user ID who is creating it. That will be big serial. It will be not null. Then it will be description. To be honest, I just need title. There will be a little bit short description. So yeah, that will be of, let's say, 255. Is this Hello. Okay. Audible. Thanks. Cool. So that's one thing. It will also be not null, and then I will have thumbnail. It will be URL, which will be of text. It can be null, and then they will be featured. Image is not required. Thumbnail is very simple, a box kind of like art. Then it will be created at, again timestamp, not null, default will be now, and then updated at timestamp, not null, default will be now. Of course default has to be done something else, but for us it should work. One more thing, it will be foreign key, because we have a foreign key which is user ID, and that foreign key will references users table. So there's that, and within that ID. So now I'll just copy, like select it, run it. Now we have two tables, one is task, one is user, so we are good to go. So let's close this thing, and this can be closed as well. Cool. Now what, we can close this, close this, close, 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 close. Okay, PG So again I'll open this, let's go and changed the MySQL to PG master deployment. This should start the deployment, and hopefully it will work. Sweet. Okay, while that is happening, let's start. So at the beginning we had the function, which is inside libs and functions. So within that we had one function which is dd. Let's add this, return this as void type, and this time we will just make it as so. Okay, that's one void. Okay, so this is proper return type as per PHP 8. So we have this do and die function. Then I will need to have few other things. So these are basically helper functions for debugging. Another function I'll have is abort, which will take the status from something. Let's call it 404 for now, and it will be http send status code, basically respond code. That will be whatever the status is coming. That's one. It will then require the base path. So base path is something, basically once I have this, I need to reroute it to 404. So once I have the status, so within this I will have, so my particular files of my project will be inside the http, and within that I will have controllers, and within that it will be status.php. In case you don't know what this is, there was yesterday, so this is live again, thankfully. Okay, so yesterday we did some sort of history. Let's go to history. There is drawing. Where is the drawing? Where's the drawing? Tree. Okay, here we go. Let's open this. So you see, here I have the HTTP. Within that I have controllers, and here I have this. So these are the status file. Therefore, it is status. Right now it is 404, so it will be 404 file. And once you have that, you simply die. You just abort it. It will also be void, and this will also be kind of like no return. Okay, so that's another thing. Cool. No return is stubs. Technically speaking, I don't see no return part, but we'll see. Okay, after that we already have the base path, which is something that we like to have as our helper function. This can also be helpers, but let's call it function. And then we will also have one for view. So let's say function view. View will take two things. If you think about it, it will be a path, and then it will take a bunch of attributes, which is basically array attributes, and which will be empty by default. Now what this will do is it will extract out all those attributes. Okay, and if you check, this basically is in-memory operation, so it's kind of like a reference. So when I pass this thing will change this attribute part. Okay, that means now I will have to require the base path, which will be whatever the views are, followed by whatever the path is. That's it. So this attribute can be like, for example, heading, and then whatever I'm typing as a heading. This is how it will come up. Okay, and what this will do is, if you check, it says import variables into a current symbol table from an array. Okay, we are not doing this. So if you want to see how it works, you can just go here. This came in 4 5 7 8. It's everywhere. Now see what happens. So let's say there is an array. When I say extract of var array, then this thing kind of like becomes the variable which holds the value this. So this will print echo blue medium sphere. So that's like saying, if I'm passing you heading like this, okay, then you can say dd, let's just use it, this, and here in the public, let's have this as view. Let's pass it like so, and let's go and see. So this is int of 1. Sorry, here if I just extract it like this, so now I can actually say heading. See, this is because of this. So I have the heading here, it converted this into a variable, and then it made it available for us to use. That's what it does. So now I can just remove this, format it using formatter, remove this, format it, and that's about it. One thing I forgot is action on save. This is a setting. So I want to reformat my code, optimize it, and rearrange it. And that's about it. This also can be done. Okay, it will be again that 1 2 3 4, apply this. So every time that I now save, so let's say I have like this, I save, it is auto reformatted. Okay, cool. So this is my view and this will be required. Now we will not die because we need to, whatever we are requiring, we will just, add it work like so. And yeah, that's another one. Then finally we will have a function called redirect, and here we will simply be passing a path where we want to redirect, and then we will simply say header, which will have a location of this path, and it will be this. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, so these are done. This will be basically no return and it will be void. Okay, so this completes our function. Hopefully there's no sounds, otherwise we have to stop this. Now let's go to JWT. So within that JWT, we are dying, right? So here it will be basically us saying we're going to define two functions. One is generate JWT and one is verify JWT, and one will be destroy or decode JWT, right? So let's start with that. First thing first, I'll say if the function exists, which is of type generate JWT. If it does not exist, then only define it. So that will be me saying generate JWT. Now it will take a payload, and this will also take a secret. One thing I forgot, you might want to do the same thing here as well if you want, but hopefully it will not work. It will not affect because function is at the top. So once you are here, you will have something called header, which will be JSON decode of type JWT, and algo or ALG of type HS256. That's basically our header. So a JWT has three parts: header, payload, and then there's a secret. So that's what we're doing. Then we will have payload, right? And that payload will be JSON decode of whatever the payload is coming on. And finally, we will have base 64 URL header that will be replacing this. It will be an array, str replace array. It will be plus, it will be slash, it will be equals. You will replace this with dash, underscore, and empty, and then it will be base 64 encode header, because this basically is has to be base 64 encoded, otherwise that doesn't make sense generated thing. Same way we will do here, and this will be URL payload. This will be payload. Okay, then we have signature. Signature is basically hash hmac hmac xo. We will have a signature of SHA256. that will be base URL header dot within that. Then basically we're creating the entire generating the entire thing in PHP from scratch rather than using some sort of a, like a JWT web token library or something like that, because I don't know uh, what is the way of doing that. Then we will have secret and we will have true. Okay, now we have to do base URL signature. That will be again the same thing. So let's copy this thing, and here it will be signature like so. Okay, then finally we will have return of base header dot base URL payload dot base signature, and that is our generated JWT. So I'll add this and this is good to go. Cool. Hopefully it's understood. What I'll also do is I'll say font size settings. I'll decrease the font size. This is too much to 16. Okay. Now then I'll have another function which is function exist. Let's call it verify JWT. If that does not exist, by the way, then it will be function verify JWT. That will take JWT and a secret. By the way, this payload is technically anything. We'll see. Secret is always going to be string, so there's that. We know that JWT is also going to be string. So we are going to verify it. The way to verify it is quite easy. We will first have three parts of it. So parts will be explode based on the dot and whatever the JWT is coming. That's one. Then we will have header, which is going to be JWT or JSON decode of base 64 decode, because we were encoding above, so now we are decoding it. So it will be parts of 1 of 0. What I'm doing, okay, parts of 0, this will be true. Okay, now this will be 3 times. This now will be payload, and this will be signature. Okay, this will be 1, this will be 2. If header algo or elg is not equal to hs 256, remember we did it just right here. Okay, so now it will return the false. That's one. And then we will have expected, let's say signature, that will be hmac sha256 parts 0 dot parts 1 dot, this will be secret, this will be true. Okay, and this will now return hash equals signature with expected signature. Okay, so that's the whole thing. We technically do not require mm, this payload. This will be bool. That's what we are returning. All right, now finally we will have decode. So let's see if the function doesn't exist, which is decode jwt, then it will be function declaration of decode jwt. It will take string of jwt and string of secret. It will have a parts explode dot jwt, and then we will simply return the JSON decode of base 64 decode of parts 1. To be honest, I don't think this is required. We are not going to be decoding anything, so but we'll see. Cool. So this is our JWT. So these two are done. Now what about constants? So let's go one by one to the constants. This is us creating all our um, okay, so we will go to constants, us creating all the entire framework. If you check this, it says this is unreachable statement. Okay, so because this is here, so we will remove that. Now our constants file is also done. Then we are having this load, auto load. There is some background noise, so I'm just pausing it till that is over. Okay, so next is our bootstrap. So let's go and see what's in the bootstrap. We'll remove this. So in the bootstrap, what I'll need is some sort of like let's see, I want to utilize this as so okay, so bootstrap basically is a file where I want to simply initialize all the libraries, let's say. So I want to bind a bunch of third-party or self-made libraries within this, so that I don't have to redo again and again the same calls. One of those things is database connections, right? So it's consider it kind of like a database connection thing. Okay, so for that I will need some sort of like a container. So we'll start with that first. We'll say there's a need of a container, and this container will be a class of container. Okay, we will see what that means. So we can have a class of container. At least this is done. And then this container needs to simply say bind. It will bind some sort of, like, say if I want to bind database, so it will be a database class that will be bind. So let's call it as database class as well. Okay, so it will bind the database, and now we will use lambda function. So it's basically an anonymous function, like so. There I will have a config file which will require the config file from the base path of libs config.php. We'll look, we'll see whether we have that or not. No, we don't. So let's have it, config.php. Cool. And then what? So let's also go to config.php as well. Here is, so what I want to do is, since I'm requiring it within a variable, so I can return an array, and whatever I have here will be required there. So this will be an associative array. So for me it will be database, and then I can also have image kit, like so, right? And here it will be those environment files. So let's say host, it will be get env db host, or, right, if this exists then this, otherwise pick it up from the environment env. Now the reason why I'm using this is because this will be picked up on local and this will be picked up on render, hopefully. Okay, so this will be a port, same db port, and this will be env, it will be db port. Now just so that we are clear, let's also have db name, not this, get env db name, this will be env db name. Okay, then user, whatever the user is, get env db user. So we are now connecting our database basically. So this, it will be db user, and then there will be a password. Password will be db password. So here we go, password. We'll keep the this thing as it is, and in our app itself we will create a new file called .env, and in our git ignore file we will have it as .env, so that this is not available anywhere. That also means from here as well. Cool. So this is it. Now in the env file, that's where we will have whatever we had in our Docker, or our local at least. Okay, so first thing first, we will have an app environment of app env of, say, development. Then we will have db host of so db host is what? Let's go to a Docker compose. Here there's no db host, so we don't actually care about it that much. Hmm. So db host can be, let me see, let me think. Okay. Okay, so db host, what, there has to be something here, pretty sure about it. I think it's this. We'll check. So let's call it like so. Then db port will be 5432. db name is taskify. db user in our local is taskify. db password here is taskify. Now, do I need to have an image kit? Not really. So I can just remove that image kit. Otherwise, if you want have some sort of like, better way of serving the image, this is the point. We'll see. But before I continue, if I have to use this, I need .env package. So I'll just go here. I'll go inside app. Then I'll say composer install, and it has to be, let's see, I think it's not composer install, it's something like composer require. So we'll see. .env composer. Yeah, this one. I mean, hopefully it works. So we'll say composer require inside where our composer.json file is. We'll just rule this way. It will download our file. And once that is done, at the very top here, we will have, let's see, require base path vendor / autoload.php. Okay, that will help us to get the .env file. So we'll say if file exists, let's also check it. We are going to check whether the env file exists or not in the base path. If that exists, then we will say .env. This is how you do it in Express, Node.js, and everything. It's the same concept. .env. Then this will be create. This will be base path, and it will be empty for now. And finally, we will say .env.load. This is let's see. Okay, I'm pretty sure this will work. So it should be, I think, create immutable. Yeah. So now this will help us get this. So inside the bootstrap, when I have this, I'll just dd the config file. Remember, we are till this point, we are not having any dd. So this will be the first DD, and if everything works, then this should work as well. Let's see. Okay, bind. Yeah. So cool. We need to have some sort of like a bind. So at this point, what I'll do is this container, which I'm trying to, have it, that's a part of our core. So let's have a PHP class container, which is core, and we'll make this as capital core. And from here, we will remove this, and then we will just simply import it. The best way to import it is not like this, like so. Let's also remove the DB database class from here, and let's say use core and container. That's the way of doing import in PHP. Now here it will be inside the container. I will have a bunch of bindings. So let's go with protected bindings. Here then I will have public function bind that will take a key, which is basically a string, because I am giving you that database, right? That is key. And then I will have a resolver. That is a function, right? Let's remove this. And then what I'll do is basically this dot bind, this dot bindings, pass the key and make it a resolver like this. Then there will be a function that will be doing the resolve, that will take the key of to resolve it. And the way to actually do it is, if within that array key exists, so this key which is coming, if that exists within this binding, then if it does not exist, then it should be throw new exception, not this exception, and that will be no matching something binding found or this key. So that's one. Otherwise, here it will be doing a resolve of this dot bindings, whatever the key is, right? And then I'm saying call user func, which is going to resolve this thing. So basically this will call whatever the function I'm passing after this, right? Based on this key, it will resolve this. So here it is a new exception. Okay, so this it's not handled by us, so that's what it's complaining. That's fine. This will be this, and this will be void. All right, so this is my container. So now this will be working. At least this is a key. Now the key should be basically technically the key is going to be this thing, like exactly what we want. So for this it will be core slash database. So what this will do is, the moment I like do this bind, where it is, okay, let's go to container. The moment I do this bind, okay, this will have a key of bind within this, and it is going to create an associative array. This function will be a part and parcel of that particular key. Then when I am going to resolve it somewhere, it is simply I am going to pass this particular key, and that will simply run whatever the function I passed for the first time. And that's about it. Okay, so you will see that even though we have done this, it will not give, first of all, an error, right, which works, because here after this is where this entire thing actually fails, right? So it didn't give error, but let's say within this I want to resolve it. So let's call uh, to resolve this thing in the bootstrap here let's call container equals new container, and let's say resolve, and let's just pass that value core database. Okay, let's pass that particular key. We don't have to worry do much. Refresh. Now it says it needs a container. Okay, so let's also do that. Acquire base path of core container.php. Okay, so here we go. We need to go right here. We will pretty much see this. So I'm calling this bootstrap. I'm calling the bind. Okay. Wait, I don't need to do it here. I can just go inside this bootstrap and let's just container dot resolve, and for that we will have core database. Let's resolve this. Let's see. You see, that's what it is. So now this will run. So here I bind this particular key with this function. This function will not run if this is not present or this is not resolved somewhere. But the moment you resolve it anywhere, database, every time I resolve it, I will get this. This will run. And the only reason why we will resolve it is when we need to use, let's say, database. So let's return a new database which will have a config, and now we will pass our database. Okay, here we can have a host which is going to be database host. Then we will have a port which is going to be a database of port. We will also have, say, db name, which will be a database of db name. We will then have user, which will be user. Then we will have password, which will be password, and here it will be new db or new database. Let's start with host, port, db name, user, password. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So see what happened when I did this. I am returning an array from here with associative array. Within that associative array there's a key called database, and there I have the host, port, db name, user, and password, which I'm going to pass here. Now what is this? Well, there's nothing here. So let's create a new class within the core, which is database. And here in the bootstrap, this will be core, and here in the bootstrap we will have use core database, like so. And here within this database I will have a public func, and remember we had something called constructor. So that's what we are going to have right now. Constructor. That constructor is going to take bunch of things like string of host, string of port, string of db name, string of user, and string of password. Once it takes that, it will try something and it will catch a PDO exception, which will be of E, and that will echo int of E dot get code followed by this E of get message, and finally it will die. If it doesn't connect, it will simply die. Otherwise, we will have a DSN, which will be PGSQL, because we have PGSQL installed. Host will be host, port will be port, and DB name will be DB name. Then we will have options, and that will be basically PDO, ATTR, ERR mode. Okay, let me just check. Cool, nobody's here. Okay, we can continue. This mode, and that will be PDO, ERR mode exception, PDO, ATTR default fetch mode, PDO fetch SOC, or basically associative array, and then PDO ATTR emulate repairs, that will be false. Finally, here it will say this dot connection, and then we will have new PDO where I am passing the DSN followed by user followed by password followed by options. And here, therefore, we will have something called protected connection, like this, and this will be PDO connection. Cool. So this is our PDO. Now if I go back to container, not here, if I go back to bootstrap, this is fine. Create a class. Okay, now I will have to say use core database. Yeah, it will be database. Cool. So I can remove this part, we don't need this. Hello. Yeah, we don't need this, and yeah, we are good to go with this database and this bootstrapping. One thing that I will need to do in the bootstrapping is so we'll see. I mean, see, this container is a new container, which is fine, but I need to, anytime I do some sort of like resolution, I need to call that we'll see. For now, this should be enough. Okay, so next in line is router. Here we are taking the routes.php. So here is where we will define our routes. So let's go back, refresh, router.php. So let's go to router.php. We'll just close this thing, and we are saying die. We will not be dying. We will just say bunch of things. First, we have the routes, that will be an array, and then we will inside the construct, we don't have the construct here because we will be adding a bunch of functions. One function will be public function add, that will take a string of URI. Let's start with the route 2 because that's what we are doing, right? So I'll remove this thing. Let's also remove this, and we'll see whether we need it or not. So route2 will actually say for each this dot routes, for each route, right? If the route of URI equal whatever the URI is coming, and route of method equal whatever the method is coming, and let's also make it as 2 upper or 2 lower, whatever you want to call it. Let's go with 2 lower, so that if it's uppercase, lowercase, we don't care. Okay, if that is the case, then we will have some sort of like resolution of that route, and we will return require base path, not base result, base path, and we will say http controllers followed by route controllers. And after the each is done, if we don't find anything, we will say abort 404. Okay, hopefully this is making sense. Now that means we require this to mixed. Now what we now require is we somehow have to add a bunch of things here. Okay, this is just route2, right? So if I go here, it is saying route2 whatever the URI is and whatever the method is, but it's the routes file where we are going to be defining a bunch of other things. So if I just refresh it, now it's routes file. So here is where we will be defining our routes, okay, in the routes file. So let's see. Let's start with a route to our index page. So we will have router dot get, and here we will say go to index.php. Okay, and it's not able to find where the router is even though we have this router. So let's have it as defined as global, and we will say router. Good. Now this router requires this method, so let's add the method. So inside the router, this automatically added a method, our IDE, right? So this will be our add get method. So when I get the string, which is basically my URI or URL, and then I'll get the controller as well. So if you check, I'm getting the controller. Like, what controller should I actually forward this to, right? This particular route, when I hit slash or for home page, what controller should I forward this request to? So here inside this router, what I'll do is I'll say return this add URI, whatever you're getting, it will be controller, and this will be get. Okay, and this get will be, let's say, get small get. Makes sense because we're doing this. Fair enough, doesn't matter because whatever is coming, I'm just anyways going to reduce it. Okay, so then we also need to add this. So if you hover over it, it says there's nothing here. Okay, nothing here. So we are passing URI controller get. So we are passing URI. We are going to pass the controller for this, and then we are going to pass the method for this, and then there will be, we'll see. For now, what this will do is very simple. It will add within the routes this URI controller and method. This, like we had that extract method, we also have something called compact, which is reverse of extract. And this, so all it does is whatever the value of this is, it will make it as associative array within this. So if this and this matches, then this will be the key and the value coming will be the value. And then I'll return basically this. Static. Cool. And hopefully this makes sense. Now, if I go to this part, what will happen is this thing get, not this, it will be, let's remove this, let's remove this. Now if I go here, it will try to go inside. First it will do is add this slash and controller which is indexed to this particular routes, and then when I do route to whatever the method and this is, it will try to just move it there. So that means it will try to move to HTTP controllers and whatever the route controllers is, which is index.php in our case. So here I will have another directory which is HTTP. Within that I will have another directory called controllers, and for that I will have another PHP file called index, and this will be I am a index controller. Let's go watch, and it says undefined array key controllers. Okay. Router PHP router line 13. Okay, yeah, it should be controller because we are doing controller. Yep. Now if I just refresh, I'm an index controller. So it's very simple now. When I hit this home page, the first thing that runs is the public index PHP. It does all of these things, and finally it creates a router. The moment it creates a router, it then requires, basically it requires a routes.php with all the routes. So if you see the routes.php, it is basically this, nothing else, and then all these routes, right? Then it says it pass the URL for the URI and get the method either through this or this. If you don't know what I did here, watch yesterday's video at the end. And then it says this router has a route to method where I have to pass the URI and the method, and that's about it. To be honest, you don't need this. This should be enough. Okay, let's go back, and here we are. So what happened was, when I required this file got created where I had this get function, which method which passes the URI, which is slash, right, and it says redirect it to the controller of index.php. So that went here. It simply added this thing as an associative array here, and then all it did was, when I said route to URI and method, this ran, it figured out what is the entire thing, and it just returned this path. Base path is HTTP controllers, so we created the HTTP and controllers, and whatever the value of route controller is, which is index.php, so this is served. And that's about it, nothing else. Just followed you on X, and I would really appreciate give me a follow back there. Samantha Parker. I'll see. Once this is done, let's see. Cool. Okay. Then so this is going to be our so-called index page, which is index controller. This is not going to be where we will have views. So here what I'll do is I'll call the view method, and here I will pass let's see what is the view method. So it is base and view. Let's also have here as HTTP views. So inside this HTTP itself, I will have a directory called views, and then inside this I will have a PHP file called index. Cool. And here I will have this thing which will be Taskify, and this is my home page. And here I will have index.php and then an associative array, and let's call it as heading, and let's call it as our task. And here we can have PHP, and we can echo basically heading. Now if I go back, refresh, this is my home page, and this is the heading, which is task. Cool. The squiggly lines, no idea why it is here. There's some sort of like problem with PHP Storm, I guess, but this will work. Cool. Okay. Now here I will have, let's go with Bootstrap or Daisy UI. That's fine. Site is extremely low. Okay, so that's done. Now let's start with so what I want is this thing to be at the center. Okay, so let's call this as class flex justify center items center. That's one. I will have header where I will have that header like so. This will be bg neutral 950, text white, px p of 4. Let's see. Now it will be heading. Now this will work, which is task. So let's also have this as you know what, I don't need this daisy UI. This should be enough. This will be full. Text will be center. Like, I'm extremely bad at designing, so there's that. um hmm, like, if I have to think of design, what should I think? Like, okay, how about this? So this entire thing has to be present in every single page. So what I'll do is I'll just have this whole thing copied from here. Within the views, I will have another folder called components, and within that I will have a component called header.php, and it will be like so, like this. So that's one thing. And then what I'll have is this thing is fine. This I don't require. This will be basically me saying there's a container, and within that there's a link that will take us to the center. That will be our title. Then there will be a navigation. Navigation will be ul li link of home and li link of task. So technically I don't need to have anything like this, so navigation is not required. mm, Nothing else is required. hmm. Yeah, nothing else is required. um okay, so this part will now go inside another file called footer.php. Before this body actually ends, we will have a footer. That's where all this copyright things can actually go. So it will have a container, and that will be copyright copy code testing. Let's say 2025, all rights reserved, something like this. Then inside this index, I will have PHP require once require, let's say this will be components slash header, and then there will be a main file, main within that, and then there will be require components slash footer, like so. And this header will also have, after this container, cool, that works. So after this container, this will be flex column, and this will be fine. There is going to be class of flex1, and in the footer there will be a class of empty auto. Yeah, that's fine. So let's also reduce the zoom. This is how it is actually kind of like looking right at this point. So let's design our headers. So our header will be basically me saying there's also something that I like. There's a font called Lexent. So Lexent font. Okay, so that's the Lexent font. Also, from here, I'll have another component and I'll name it as meta.php. Then I'll paste it here. Okay. Then within this body, let's have it as flex call hdvh and anti aliased anti aliased. Let's see, aliased. Yeah, pretty sure there's a class for this. Cool. At least I'm on I'm on the previous version, which is what I want for now. Okay, so then I will have few things more. One thing is, after everything here, I will have a style tag, and here I'll say after, before, and the font family I want it to be Lexent followed by Sheriff. That's one. Font optical sizing will be auto. Then HTML overflow. Let's see, hidden height 100%, body overflow auto, height 100%. Okay, so this is enough. Now if I go to index.php, the very top, I also need to have require components meta.php. All right, let's go back and check. So this is just working fine. This is better font and we are good to go. So now back to my Some configuration I'll do is inside the header. So now inside the header, I'll have a bunch of things. One is I can have something called image kit. So for that, I have to go to say environment file. Where is the environment file? Here it is. And we need few things. One is image kit say public key. That's one. Then we need image kit slash private key. That's another one. And then we need image kit slash URL slash endpoint, like so. Okay. Now, once you have these values filled, I also will need JWT secret, which I'll just create right now. Which I'll create and hide it. Secret creation is extremely simple. You go to this thing, you say open SSL base 32, and that will create a secret. So I'll fill these things. If you sign up with the image kit SaaS application, image kit, this thing, sign it up. After signing up, you will get these. You will extract these out and simply fill it. Once you fill it, so let me just fill it for now, and then I'll come back. Okay, we'll start with the creation of OpenSSL WAN based 6432, which is basically going to be the JWT secret. Then the image kit public API. Then image kit private key. It will be private underscore then dot key gibberish. And then we will have a URL endpoint, which I again will not be showing you guys. It will be image kit. Okay. Once that is done, then you will go to config file, and here you can return back image kit. Okay. So within that config file, you will have something called image kit. Okay. That will have public key. That will be get env image kit private something. Let's say public something. So now I have the image kit inside my config. Like so, inside the header, then I can go and I need to have within the libs itself, what I'll have is another file, and I'll call it imagekit.php, and this will be basically me saying get me the config, require base path libs config.php file. Then I'll be using image kit slash image kit. Okay, so for this to work, we need to have composer require image kit. So PHP SDK, you go here, you go for requirement, this, simply run this. Okay, once this is run, so this will be available, and all I need is image kit equals new image kit. That will take config of image kit. So let's see, config, it's small, so it will be small config image kit followed by public key. Then it will have config image kit followed by private key, and finally we will have config image kit followed by URL endpoint. Let's go into this URL endpoint key. Cool. So this is our image kit file, which is what I said I won't be using it, but let's just use it. I'll just close everything else, only header will remain, and then we will go and start doing the header file, header designs. So at the very top, I will have require base path, and that will require image kit.php. Okay, then I will have a logo, which I have somewhere in my image kit itself. So it will be image kit, it will be URL. So that will now take a path. I have this in my note, which I just copied while I was doing the blank screen. So for the note, it will be PHP notes app, and let's call it notes png. That's the file that I actually found, so I'll just do that. And transformation, this is one of the image that I have in one of the other projects, so I'm just going to use that just to show you how it actually works. So this will be 128 and this will be width of 128. This will be utilized as logo. Okay, don't worry about this. For some reason this is not working. All right, once this is done, so we'll close this and we'll start with the header. Within the header is going to be a class which will be py6 bg gray 6 900, and text will be, oh god damn it, white. If only I can type. Okay, then I have a div of container which will have px of 4 and smpx of 0. Then it will be flex items center justify between mx auto. Then I'll have basically I will have flex item center justify start. That will be another div, and Here I will have another div that will be flex gap 1 item center justify start, that will contain an image. Source will be our logo which we have above, like this. Alt will be site logo, class will be text transparent w8 h8, and this will be followed by a, that will be class of font bold text excel, and let's call it taskify. Let's see how it actually looks. So now it says fail to open stream, no such file, or okay. So that's in 16 line number. We'll see what that is all about. Hmm. So we're doing the config. Config is doing the vendor auto load. Okay, so let's also say composer dump or update. Hmm. Okay, it's trying to open the image kit PHP. Hmm. So this is PHP index. Let's see. This is in line 16 right here. Okay, because I started using this, so this became a part of that. Okay. Hmm. Line number 7. So it's trying to get here. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So since the view is inside this, then it's taking the namespace problem. So let's just move this view above, right here, within the hierarchy of HTTP and all of those things. And then it becomes a part of this. So now if I have to get the view inside the router, okay, go here inside the controller, inside the router. Here I need to remove this part inside the view. Now refresh. Hmm. Okay, line numbers this. So it's trying to go inside the image kit and image kit. So it's not able to figure out the auto load. So if I do the dd of class core container, let's do the var dump of classes. This core container, core router, and then it goes with the image kit. Okay. So do one thing, if class equal image kit continue. Hmm. This will not work. So this is fine. Technically, that should not even come there. Hmm. Let's see what could be the reason. So I have the core HTTP, this, and this, right? Composer JSON. I have this. Hmm. Okay. I am having this. Let's see, vendor has an auto load. Hmm. Okay, this is not required. This can be just this. Okay, this is a little bit issue. Hmm. What am I missing? Seems like I'm missing something. Um, that SPL kind of like config. I had this. Okay, the config will be, first of all, this can go inside this again. Inside the router, I mean inside the function view, I can have this as HTTP views. That is not the issue. So I have this thing called image kit, which I'm trying to load. Okay, let's do one thing. We'll figure it out later. So we will have a container. We'll have UL, and in this UL, we will have flex items center justify end gap 2, because that doesn't make sense. That's the whole thing. If that will be thing of session of user, if the user session doesn't exist or is false, and let's also have end if. So basically, if the session doesn't exist, then we will have, for me it will be uh, nothing. If it exists though, let's say it's there's nothing here. If it exists, if that is the case, so this will be if this exists, let's say user exists, so it will be negating that part. So all I'm saying is if the session kind of like exists, or it's true or it's false, so this will not run. If it exists, then this will run. So for me it will be basically li href of account, and here I'll say class of little bit of border solid, rounded, border white, bg, let's say gray of 900, px4 py3 or bg gray of 950, and hopefully this will work. So now it will be this, whatever the session is, whatever the user is, and whatever that user's email is. And technically I will say name, and I should also have the form. This will go to logout. The method will be post m of 0, and here it will be input of hidden. This is where it comes, underscore method, value is delete, then there will be a button that will have logout. It will be of type submit, class will be of border solid h 46 pixel, let's say. We'll see. This is not required, I guess. um so now it will be item center, rounded, border white, bg gray of 900, px4 py3 over bg gray of 950. Let's go back, refresh. So there's something that is missing in terms of this image kit. So okay, so here's what I'll do. I'll say compose down, and compose up build. Now if I refresh, okay, it's still the same. So technically that didn't work. So if I go to config, for some reason this works, no issue. But this does not work. None of this makes sense. Like, fixing is fine, but this should not be the case, is what I'm thinking. So I am getting the explode and things like that, and that will be base path of class dot php. Okay, let's see what the class here is. So it is core container, core router, and this is going inside the image kit.php. Okay, hopefully this works. All right. So it says now this class is not found in mm, uh okay. So the whole issue is this should not be having any issue per se. That's the whole point. Mm-hmm. Okay. Um. So in the header, I have the lips, and this takes care of this part. Okay. Let's do this. Let's just remove this first. Let's make this as remove this as well. Let's see how it actually works. Okay, at least this is working fine. So yep, now this I will say make it as LG of this, so it should have Excel of this. Let's have this always. Okay, so this is at least working just fine. There's an issue with this part. Moment I add this, it will have this problem because it is trying to use this part. So if I say image kit, okay, now it works. What? Okay, at least this is here. Which is weird. Yeah, it's extremely weird. Anyways, let's make it as LG. Okay, so this is my taskify. God knows what happened, but it actually worked for some reason. Maybe I didn't had that semicolon, and this is my footer as well, which I'll just simply make it as um, center. So here we go with the footer. What I'll do is copy this thing, p by 3. Let's make this as 4 and make this as 2. Yep, this is much better. So now inside this I will have this part for sure, and this will be basically saying text center w full. Okay, so we are good to go. Let's make it as LG SM. Yeah, so that's one area of this is covered. So within that I have like taskify, right? And then this part is done. So now footer is also fine, and now I will have my index file, right? So if I just remove everything now and go to my index, I just have to remember that this and this is something that I have to copy paste everywhere. Okay, and within that I will have a gray, yeah, gray 50, small tinge gray within the medium, this thing. And here I will have a section. That section will be basically for, how to put it, let's see, that section will have px of 4 nothing sidewise, bg of white, text of black, border b, and border solid, border b gray 200, and py of 4. So that's one section. Within that I will have container and with mx auto, and then I will have text 3xl, font of bold, and here I'll just add the heading that is coming from the controller task, right? So let's call it as logo, that is task, which is fine. Then after that, after this section, I will have another container section. So let's call it as section. I will make it as container, empty of 4, mx of auto, px of 4, flex column, items of start, because I want everything to be top, justify of start as well. I'm not too good in designing, so I'm trying to keep it as minimal as possible. Then it will be PHP if, and then this will PHP end if. That if will be is set of some sort of like error messages, which we will tackle. Okay, we'll tackle certain error messages itself. mm, no. Okay, let's just design it. We don't know whether we will tackle it or not, but let's assume there's some sort of like an error message at the top. Then that will be bg of red of 100, text will be red of 700, px of 4, py of 2, and it will be rounded. This will be a PHP HTML special chars error message. Okay, so that's my end if, but let's call it else, and let's call it end if. Within this I will have two cases. One is PHP if empty task, then we will have PHP end if, we will have no task. So that's one. Otherwise I will have task, so that will be saying PHP, that PHP will be having a count equals 1. So let's not have this. Let's see, for each nodes as node, let's say task, this will be task. I will have this will be this way, it will open and for each, like so. Okay, here I will have a link, and that link, so this is where I have to print that format. So what I'll do is I want something like this. If I go to Excel draw, I want something like this, and here also I need a number. then title, then the task, and then up down vote. Okay, so I will have simple div. We'll figure that thing out. It will have flex, flex, that is fine. Gap of, no, that is also not good. Item center, justify of between. It will have the count, which will be a paragraph. So let's say one, and it will have a task list. Let's say it's lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum ergo sum. God knows what it is. And then it will have an action with two buttons. So it will again be a class. It will have a button. No, it will be form. It will have a button, submit type. Let's say it's called upvote. And then you will have another form. This will be downvote. Let's see how it actually looks. Yeah, task. So in this here, what I'll have is tasks, which will be empty for now. So right now there's no tasks, so that's kind of like good. Let's see, there is this thing. Okay, so in my index, cool. So this is working fine, at least for now, whatever the no task is. So if I have, say, task, for now let's have task 1, task 2. So we will have two of them, like so. So we can style it here, and then I'll transfer it there. So first and foremost, this will be the case. So its width will be 100%. That's one. Let's have a border of 1 pixel solid DDD. Border radius of 0.4 rem. Then it will be padding of 1 rem. Then yeah, this much is fine. So let's start with this first. This will be like so. This will be w full border border solid, border DDD P of 4, rounded. First this. Cool. Now here it will be X item center, justify, start, gap of 4. Yep, this is fine. Then here it will be this is with 100%. Okay, display of flex, gap of 1 rem, align item center, justify content end. That's one thing that I have to do right here. Flex, justify, end items center, gap 4. Cool. Now this right here is a form action which will say, which will go to slash upvote, slash action upvote, and this will go to slash downvote. Task like so. Then we will also have hero icons, upvote. So it will be thumbs up, not this. Copy the SVG, X, item center, gap of 1. So that's one. Another one is this, copy SVG. Let's have this as so. And this thing will be of class SR only, screen reader only. Same here. I will have a span which says downvote, but this will be of class SR only. All right, let's see, where am I here? Cool. Now here we go, here we go, here we go. Let's have some background of green, color of white, adding of 1 rem, border radius of 0.4 rem. That's, let's say 4 rem. This can be 0.5 rem. It's fine. So now it will be, button will be BG green 700, text white rounded full, p of 2. Cool. This will now be, let's copy pasta this like so, except this part will be red. Cool. This is fun. So now if I click here, some action will happen. If I click here, some action will happen. And that will show, I guess, the count as well. So we should be showing the count. Let's have the count here. 100. That's a count. That's another count. Cool. This should be enough. So it will just keep on racking up. So now if I just say this is 72, what will happen if I do it like this? And what will be like this? Okay, so minimum will be width of 72 pixel. That's the minimum. Like this. Let's see. This is much better. Okay. All right. Just this should be justify of center. Same with this. Justify of center. Yeah. This is much better. So this count will be coming as a value, as an upvote value, and then there will be another value as well. So this form is going to be method of post. Here also we will have method of post. This will have 10, so there will be pagination as well. And so I'll go here, I'll start some sort of like a data scenario. So it will be 1 that will have an ID, let's say 1. Then it will have title, let's say title 1. Then it will have description will be lorem ipsum ergo sum. What is it even to begin with? So that's 1. Then this will also have upvote. Let's have this as 10. This will have a downvote as well. But let's have it as 20. I'll make this part of dictionary. Finally, here as well, it will be 2. This will be reverse. Let's do it one more. 3. This will be nothing. Okay, now that we have this, here it will be PHP task followed by id. This right here will be PHP task followed by title, and we need to make sure this is a part of like this, and then this will be task description. Let's have it as flex column item start, justify start, gap of 2. Let's see. Cool. So this is fine, and then there will be an upvote. So this will be task upvote, same as here. I'll have the same here. So this will be just downvote. Cool. And that's about it. So now we will have tomorrow I'll continue this with pagination and real, like something real data. So it will also have, let's say, this as 1. This will have, let's say, title. So title will have text of Excel font of bold, and this will be text gray 700. This is much better. So it will have some sort of like truncating effect as well and things like that. Yeah. What about its responsiveness? So this is responsive, except should become a card at about hmm okay. So this thing should be below once and below 640 or SM. So this is the normal, and after this is the row scenario. Once this is done, this will be SM scenario. Okay, this will be, yeah, let's see what happens if I start pulling it down. This is fine. This is also fine. Cool. So at least it looks fine, and there will be an auth, admin auth, and then there will be some sort of like an action. Right now there's nothing because nothing is here. Cool. So what I'll do now is, before I leave, do this, do this. The env file is not getting pushed, which is fine. So now I will have added image kit plus designed minimal home page for users. Now I have to go to Taskify, I have to go to environment, and I have to add the environment. Okay, what I'll do is I'll close this part, go back, get to the environment, copy paste the entire thing, come back to this, just place the values. Okay, so now I'll just let you know how that is working. So you'll see the app environment and things like that. I won't be opening these because these are dummies, so you can see it. Eventually, when we will create a DB service in this render, we will point these things to that. That's about it. So save only. Okay, now then you simply deploy it. Let's see, deployment started. Let's see whether it works or not, and if it works, then for now, for today, this is it. It's 2:10 in the morning or night as people see it. While this is happening, I want to show you what I will be doing next, because like I mentioned, in the content, in the posts, you have this thing, and there's a Nest.js walkthrough which is being voted once, and then there's this thing. So basically what I can see is you guys want JavaScript framework, JavaScript ecosystem scenario rather than anything else. Yeah, so I'll start with that. From once the PHP part is done, I mean once this app is done, which will take approximately just 2 or 3 more hours, so tomorrow and day after tomorrow, then I'll jump to this. And there is a thing that I want to actually continue. So back 2 years back, or you can say 6 months back or 2 years back, we had this thing called Chirpy, and this we started, and then I got into a bunch of health related issues, so we never went ahead with it. So if people remember, if you don't, there is a video which is live, and here you will find the video is titled "Let's Build a Production Ready Application Using Next.js 14 Tailwind Drizzle Planet Scale Auth 0 Part 1. And this is completely 1.5 years back for sure. Okay, so we will continue this part. Because it's so old, we can also learn, and we will also learn how to refactor things, because this is Next.js. This is Planet Scale. Technically, Planet Scale was free back then. It's no longer free. Therefore, that will be good thing to actually understand. And yeah, so that's the entire thing. Okay. There's a Planet Scale to Zata migration, things like that. So this is what we are going to continue, and we will first see where we stand, and we will tally it. So we will watch this video. At least I will watch the last part of this video, and I'll see whether this is at the same step or not. If not, we'll see. Okay. You can look into this. I'll add this into the comment section as well. And yeah, so now if I just refresh this, this is my PHP application live. So here we go. Okay, exact same. Cool. And yeah, so that's about it. Tomorrow I'll complete this thing. Hopefully there will be only 3, then there will be pagination and things like that. And yeah, this framework will continue as well. So if you check what we did, we had PHP running now, at least using whatever trickery we did in the Docker file, using this only. That's fine. But I mean, this is not this is not something that you should be doing in production ready application. You should either run Nginx or Apache. Okay, now here we see that this is my core, and therefore I was able to build this thing, the entire thing. And this is just taking the routes now. So the routes will be inside the libs folder. Routes, we only had one route, which is homepage, which is giving us the controller. Okay, when the user hits this, look for this controller. So for the controller, we go ahead inside the routes router. We see when the get happens, this thing is getting added to this routes as an associative array, which has a URI that is /controller, which is index.php, and then there's a method which we are adding because we know the method, right? And then this is internally calling the add, which has this, and this is just simply adding this. Then when we call for route to function in the index.html, index.php of the public file, this route to function is called. It loops through it, finds something, otherwise it aborts, and that's about it. Right now the abort will not work, but for that to work, we need to add in the views itself, which is inside HTTP. We will have to add 404, 403, 500, 503, and things like that if you want. Okay, so that's the entire issue. I mean, that's the entire gist of this video. See you tomorrow. Take care. Good night. Bye.